such a good karma for an income stream that it's not very important to you what occupation. You'll accept your occupation because you got such good karma coming for revenue. You just accept occupation based on your interest, and you can get away with it because money is no problem for you. Of course, sometimes money is no problem for most of the life, and then there's a period of life where it becomes a problem, but we won't get into that now. That's a bit tangential. Or you may have jack of all trades, which is a little different. You may not have a very good chart for revenue and income stream, but you may have a jack of all trades, one of those combinations, so that you can pretty much choose anything and you can make it work for yourself and make a living. You may not be an outstanding success, but even in those situations, you would want to know what planets and why are the best types of occupations to enter into, because even with the jack of all trades, if you enter into one that you're also suited for, that's very, very helpful. Then both things will be working for you. I go over Rule 1 and Rule 2, I call them that, for understanding what occupations you should really enter into because you're astrologically suited for those and you're meant to engage in that way if you want to be successful, to whatever degree you can be successful. If you don't have a chart that has indicators for a lot of success, then of course you have a mediocre chart for success. Then even if you select the occupation that's most downstream for you, the chances of being a roaring success are very, very minimal, practically nil. But if you have a chart where success is indicated, then this knowledge means that you're on the path of that success because you can apply it. And I give it very specifically in my book. And then, of course, if you follow up with me and I do your natal chart, I will tell you for you, I give the general rules in the book in that chapter. And then for you, I'll give the specific application.
Chapter 13, Numbers and Letters. It sounds intriguing. Does this have anything to do with numerology?
It's almost totally numerological, but on a very simple basis of numerology. First of all, let us understand the basic numerology, and that is that any number you come up with, state some fairly big number, but not a huge number, just in the hundreds or thousands, state some number.
564.
All right, 564. 5 plus 6 equals 11. 4 onto 11 is 15. That gives you the number 15. It's still a dual number in the sense that there's two digits. 1 plus 5 equals 6. Every number that you give can be boiled down to a simple number. In this case, you said 564, I think, or something like that. So it boiled down to 6. Now 6 will be ruled by a planet because there's 9 single-digit numbers, 1 through 9, and there's 9 planets. And the correspondence is quite well known, but I do give the correspondence in my chapter, but I'll give it now also. Namely, number 1 is Sun, number 2 is Moon, number 3 is Mars, number 4 is Mercury, number 5 is Jupiter, number 6 is Venus, number 7 is Saturn, number 8 is Rahu, or the north node of the moon, and number 9 is Ketu, or the south node of the moon. So that's your very basic structure of numerology, that any number that's out there will ultimately boil down to a single digit by the process of adding 2 or 3 or 4 digits together. You'll get to a single, and then that means that number, that in this case 564, which was a 3-digit number, is ruled by Venus. And it's also sub-ruled by Venus partially because 564 has 6 in it. So Venus, it's a very strong Venus number. It comes down, boils down to 6.
And knowing that about a number, what's the practical application of that?
Well, the application that I'm giving in that chapter is revolutionary. No one has ever known what's in that chapter. What I'm saying is that the numerology of the alphabet that everybody thinks is right, and then there's some other ones too. There's one from Sri Lanka that is a little clearer but still isn't completely right. I give what is the actual numerology of the 26 letters of our Western alphabet. Now, A is 1. So everyone agrees on that, and as it turns out, that's also correlated in the system that I give. But from then on, I explain that a lot of these letters, the vast majority of them, as a matter of fact, are not numerologically what everyone would think they are. We have 26 letters in our alphabet. It's a Phoenician alphabet. It ultimately came from the Phoenician alphabet, which is, of course, a Malecha Dharma culture. It's not Vedic. So the alphabet that we use, A, B, C, D, E, F, etc., 26 letters ending with Z, Z, it's a concocted alphabet, but it comes from some source that ultimately is not concocted, and that source is the Sanskrit alphabet. And I show the correlations of all 26 of those letters to originally which letter in the Sanskrit alphabet it's correlated to. But I point out in the chapter, there's a glitch that needs to be understood for all the consonants. And then I show in the Sanskrit alphabet what each of those letters is valued at numerologically. And then I show how our letter in this Western alphabet corresponds. Then I talk about the glitch. And ultimately, for all 26 letters, I boil it down to which letter each of our letters actually corresponds to, absolutely, in terms of the Sanskrit from which the alphabet evolved way back in antiquity. Now, the concoction is the order and etc. The order is very different from the Sanskrit order, and also one of the intrinsic rules to the Western alphabet is very different from the Sanskrit order. But you can see the correlation. And what has not been known until I reveal in this book now, in that chapter, is what each of our 26 letters in the Western alphabet actually is, according to its numerological ultimate value. And when you know what it is, then you know what planet rules it. So you know those two things. Then, for example, if you name your son or you name your daughter, or you decide to go to a certain city to try to be successful, you can know by the name of the city, for example, what is the actual energy of that city, and does that match the planet that you're hoping to actuate in that city for either your occupation or your other interest. In this way, I'm giving very valuable new information.
So you're saying the name of the city, based on the letters and what the letters would indicate of the energy of the city. Is that what you mean?
It's like this, yes. The city has a spelling.
Right.
So the sound of that spelling isn't important. It's the letters of the spelling that's important. So each of the letters, take a city like Tulsa, so it's only 5 letters. But you need to know what each of those letters' value actually is. Then when you know what each of those, boil it down to single digits. And then when you know what each of those letters actually is as single digit, then you're going to add those 5 letters up and you're going to get a total. And your total, of course, is going, in rare cases it won't, but infrequently, but it'll usually come to a double digit. And when it comes to a double digit, then you're going to have to boil that double digit down to a single digit. And when you do that, then this is the energy of that city. Now, does that match what you are going there for?
Okay. Now, what you describe in your book as your core services, one of them is a natal chart. Can you tell us a bit what the natal chart is and how you use it in serving and how it helps someone who's using your services?
The natal chart is a symbolic representation of who you are in conditioned life. At the time of your first breath, there was some point of the zodiac on the eastern horizon in relation to the ecliptic and the eastern horizon. You then had that point, which is called point of Lagna, or point of the ascendant. It fell within one of the 12 signs, which are continuous. The 12 signs are continuous. So you can't be outside of any sign. That's impossible. You must, at all times, the eastern horizon at point of Lagna, wherever you're situated, has to be situated within some sign. It's impossible for it not to be. So that sign corresponded then to your ascendant. Now the ascendant point, of course, it could have been near the beginning of the sign, the middle of the sign, the end of the sign, but that sign then correlates or matches with your first house, or your house of the ascendant. Then from there, because of the order of the zodiac, you can very easily determine the second house, the third house, the fourth house, up to the 12th house,